Welcome, audio fans. It's time for another episode of the podcast, presented by J&J Production Studios, your home for entertainment with your favorite shows available every week. And now, it's time to begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello, good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday night to you all. It is September the 5th. It is Thursday night, and I know what you're thinking. This is weird because we don't usually get content on a Thursday night. Well, you are right, in a manner of speaking, and I will tell you why. Tonight, we have a special new episode for you guys of our newest podcast show added to us here at J&J Production Studios, Aikido and Life in the Martial Arts. We are doing so for a couple of reasons, which we're going to get into in just a second here. I want to explain, and I apologize too because we did not get a chance to get an update out. This sort of random schedule change happened, and we did not have a chance to post that. Plus, other exciting news happening too, which we're going to get to as well. So, the first reason actually is a two-part reason. Number one, if you're listening to this live, then you already can tell this. But if you're catching the replay, you will see we do not have a new episode of the Pod Squad tonight. Normally, yes, Thursday nights around 10 p.m. Eastern Time we do, but the change of schedule plan, our fearless leader, Deanie, had an opportunity and an invite to travel to the nation's capital in D.C. For an event, which is awesome. Hopefully things are working out well there. Saw some updates from about that. Looks really great. So taking the night off, which is a rarity for us there too, but it does happen. Things do happen. Of course, you guys know we have our shows. Things happen as well. So that's the first reason why we decided to add another episode here. The second reason, speaking of taking the night off, tomorrow night, Friday, September 6th, we will have no new episode. We're taking the night off there too. I am going to be having a longer day tomorrow, which is Friday during the day, and it's just going to be hard to cram everything in. So we decided to take a break from that. But, and this is part 3, this is a really long, outstretched explanation of it, but hopefully you guys will enjoy this and see how we segue here. We have, and it was sort of impromptu, we've been trying to schedule this, and if you missed that, go back and check it out, but we will announce it here. We have some special guests joining us this Saturday night, September 7th. And in case you don't, or did not see the post for that, and you're not on social media, let's begin here to announce we have in the building for the very first time the Cellar Dwellers Band, based out of New Jersey. They are coming on. They came in contact with our friends Orange Moon Project and my good buddy Austin and Emma, and he mentioned about the show, and they'd like to have a chance to promote themselves, talk about them. So they've graciously agreed to. They accepted our invitation to be on the show. They will be appearing here Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be live. You can check that out. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be incredible. We can't wait. Hope you guys are just as excited. Yeah, it's great, and again, this was not something that was planned necessarily. Actually, it wasn't really planned at all. This was really impromptu, and we're really excited though because this is great. I think you guys might remember listening to Austin's, listening to his our podcast with him. We mentioned this band here, and he was talking about that they've sold out right away and were really quick. This is the group he was talking about. So, fortunately, we have the great opportunity to have them joining us, and we're going to talk about the origins of the band, talk about their music, all kinds of neat stuff, which we hope you guys will enjoy as well. So, that's on the docket for Saturday night. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. So hope you guys will tune in. Make sure you mark it. Saturday night, September 7th. That's this Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. The Cellar Dwellers Band will be joining us, and we are looking forward to talking with them. So there you go. That explains it for you guys. Bonus episode time. Content for you all. This is why this episode is up now. Available to listen live, and as well, you can check it out. The replay at any point in time, it's available too. Check it out. Linktree.com/J_J Production Studios. You can find all of our social media, all the podcast streaming services where all these shows are found, etc., so on and so forth. we don't script this. I should write it down, but we don't. So, no, I'm kidding. But anyway, so that's why we have a bonus episode tonight. So, with that being said, I'm trying to think if there... Oh, yes, quick reminder, too. We did post this, and we're just going to mention this again, which we will over the weekend. We also have... Make sure you mark your calendars for Saturday, September 13th, the following week. I think that's September... I'm sorry, it's not Saturday. Friday night. I think we booked it for Friday night. My error. Yeah, Friday night, September 13th. Yes, my bad. We're going to be live next Saturday night. I can't get the date straight, you guys. I'm still trying to. I'm still kind of in that holiday hangover where the holiday was on a Monday. So my week's short and I'm not really thinking clearly. Next Friday night, September 13th, catch a new episode. We have MMA fighter and Kung Fu / academic coach Verka Partakova. I apologize if Verka hears this too. I'm going to share with her. I know the name thing is hard, but she is going to be joining us Friday night for a lot of fun talking to her, and you guys are going to learn some neat, fun things. We're going to talk about her offers online when she has her online courses that she features and the like. So all of that and more will be coming up then that Friday, which we'll hope you guys will check out and enjoy that there as well. So with that being said, I think that's everything that is pertinent at this point. Yeah, I think we're good there. If I come across it, do we think of anything else, then we will cross that bridge when we get there. But let's dive in here. So, just a refresher, in case you are new and have not heard this and did not hear the initial episode, this podcast, I'll just give a quick recap of this real quick for anybody who's new here, and hasn't heard it, of course. So this podcast actually was an idea that we had early on when we started breaking up and doing different shows. And at the time, didn't think it was going to pick up, wasn't sure if we could devote a whole segment to it. And, there was just a lot of factors that just decided that it wasn't time to do that. So, didn't happen. And then, of course, we started getting my good friend Ramsey from Impulse Martial Arts, who's been on. Once that began to pick up and we had regular consistency with that, I thought, well, we could keep on the main show. I don't know if I want to necessarily branch off and do that. So it was still kind of a back and forth trying to figure this out, work this out, et cetera, et cetera. What ultimately sold it, and this is going to sound funny and weird, and most people are going to say that's really the only reason, and no, it's not. But after realizing when we added Mr. J show, the Sanitarium show, we ended up with 9 shows. I like to have a nice round, even number, which is, of course, with the show now, it makes it 10. And the idea is, too, that since we are having Ramsey on, who's been on fairly regularly, we're going to keep that series going into the martial arts world. May as well dedicate an entire segment to that and an entire podcast show to that, which we basically are. So I just felt like, it's time, and we are ready to expand. So that's what we did. And that's why this is here. But it just made a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. So that's what led to this. That's what got this going, and so on. So that's the short version of that, just to recap quickly. And that's what we're going to talk about. Now, again, I mentioned this, just the last part of this is Aikido is the forefront of the art that we talk about, and that's because it's near and dearest to me. That's the primary art that I study and love and enjoy and want to continue to do. But we also are going to cover other arts as well, which is also why we titled it Aikido and Life in the Martial Arts, because other factors are involved too, which you will see as we continue to work through this and get through this podcast as well, and we continue to create new content. You'll see how that evolves and what that means. So, but just to give you some insight, some highlight, that's why we have that set up the way that we do. And so, for tonight's episode, now that we got that out of the way, we're going to talk a little bit about origin story. I almost said orange. I got Orange Moon Project in my head now, which is not a bad thing. We're going to talk about a little bit of the origin of Aikido, the history of it. I want to talk a little bit about the technicalities of it, the techniques for that, explaining it a little bit about, just kind of giving some context to the art itself. Again, if you're not familiar with it, if you are, this won't be anything new, but most people, it's good to have a refresher and need to at least kind of get a sense of it so they understand. So it's just to help edify, and of course, as always, we try to be informative. So that's really the whole concept what we're doing here. But so yeah, we're gonna dive into that, and then that's gonna be our night tonight. We're not gonna be going super long, just because I don't want to take too much time. And again, I don't want to do everything in one night, basically. So that's kind of why we're going to take a little bits and pieces of this and just kind of tell this story little by little by little by little. But because there's a lot of information, there really is, and I'm not just saying that to make it sound interesting or sound cool. There really is a lot of things that we can talk about, which again goes back to the main point of so that's we're kind of breaking this down a bit. So I wanted to cover again as much as we possibly can. This could go on forever, so we're gonna see how this plays out. But anyway, so jumping in here, actually let's do a time check here. I think we have enough time. Yeah, we're barely 10 minutes in. Okay. So to tell a little bit, and again, this gets really technical, this gets really in-depth, and I don't want to bore you to tears. I definitely want to help you guys have a better understanding of the art, what it is, what it stands for. Again, there are thousands upon even millions of different thoughts, theories, a process, which I want to start with this. Anybody who trains or understands martial arts for that, when you're a student for a long time and eventually you become a teacher, because that's the goal, is to teach one day and to pass on the knowledge, which is another example of it's always been my dream to pass on this art, and along with the sword, which is all part of that, which we talk about. All of this is important, imperative, why I train it, why I want to preserve it and send it forward for future generations. We touched on that a little bit in the initial episode. But when you look at it from a teaching standpoint, and as we know, we're all different individuals. Everybody has their own thoughts, opinions, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of varying opinions about the art itself. There is a system of styles that are taught that are conflicting in some cases. There's constant arguments of who is better, who is right, who is wrong. So I just want to preface that by saying, when I say there's a lot of information, this is why. Now, with that being said, too, it's also important to note that, and we always say this, like with the review show too, but I want to say this here also. This does not reflect saying I am entirely right, whatever is shared here. This is my viewpoint. This is my opinion. This is my my personal thoughts on that. And again, I've spent a lot of countless times over the years studying the art, understanding it, recognizing the complexities, the differences of it, etc., etc. And this is just what I've compiled based on my own knowledge for that. So you can take it for what it's worth. You don't have to agree with that, but that is a preference that I really want to make sure that you understand that. Okay. So with that being said, let's get into a little bit. And again, I'm just going to give you a brief overview. There's a lot more technical things that we could share, we could say, we could do, but just for now, I just want to cover the overall basis. And then again, the more that we do episodes and the more that we want to dive deeper, which is kind of how I want to spread this out, we'll get into the specifics there. But Aikido, let's see if I can go back here. And again, I don't have a lot of material in front of me. I really should have books in front of me, but I don't. So Aikido originated from Japan, definitely predating World War II, which that's something we'll talk about later on. And the founder of the art, who's in the photo that we share on there, is Morihei Ueshiba, who was born in Japan. He was born in 1883. And just a brief overview, myself, including other practitioners, refer to as affectionately termed for this man as O-sensei, which means great teacher, out of reverence and respect to the fact that he created the art. And again, that's one of the areas where there are some discrepancies there. There are some There's some differing various opinions, viewpoints, and so forth that are not necessarily agreed upon with everybody, but for all intents and purposes, just for knowledge-wise, Sensei founded the art, and how he founded the art was, as a young man, he studied a multitude of different martial arts, from karate, from weapons, like the spear, to wrestling, to jiu-jitsu, which is an older art, which we'll talk more about that too, where Aikido really stemmed from. That's sort of the patriarch of where Aikido started. And basically, after years of training and studying what he studied there, learning different arts, Aikido came to fruition, where the founder wanted to find a more peaceable approach to dealing with aggressors and attackers, and finding a pure martial art for different purposes there, which again we'll cover more in depth later on. But that's what essentially led to the birth of Aikido. So Aikido stems from what was known as Aki Jiu-Jitsu, which is the original foundation of Aikido back in the day. And since that time, and the plethora of many students that O-Sensei has had, and their students, and so on and so forth, it's grown, and it's actually traveled all across the world. Aikido has been studied in so many countries. I don't know. I know there was a statistic in the one book I read, but it's probably different than now too. But it quickly grew in popularity, and it was just it began to expand. It began to become popular. Now, for me personally, and a lot of people, how I got to know it and become popular was famous actor from the 1990s, Steven Seagal, and also a martial artist, made Aikido famous with his practice of it, and also interpreting it into his movies that he did. And I love all of Steven Seagal's films, the old ones. Newer ones, not as much. I know he's getting older. It changes things, but still enjoyable. But anyway, so the that's where the growth, at least in the Western Hemisphere, in the United States and probably parts of Canada and all the countries in Europe and stuff, got the exposure from there too. But and that's where I started, how I got my exposure initially. I might actually, a little bit later on, I'll share the origin story, how I actually ended up studying in Aikido for that. But for now, let's just keep focused on a little bit of the history here. But Aikido became very popular and studied across the country, across the world, all over. There's probably really no part of the globe you can go to that nobody has heard of it or nobody studies it. Especially because of all the years and all the students that have students, and it's grown, and it's exponentially hit so many levels that it's like throwing a bunch of seeds around. It's going to have to plant trees and flowers at some point. So that's actually, I'm trying to multitask, but I want to focus on this, so I'll finish this in a second. That's really the reach of where Aikido stretches out and expands. So very well known, very popular. Now, the other thing that is important to note here too, and again, I'm just giving some overview. We're going to talk more in depth about the specifics of all of this. There is a lot of people of popularity in Aikidoists or Aikidoka, which are practitioners of the art, including myself, that are fully behind it, fully believe in it, fully have faith in the art itself and the systems and techniques, which we're going to talk about shortly. There are what they call naysayers. People say, "Oh, well, Aikido is too soft; it doesn't work. It's just not effective. It's not practical. If you're looking for something for self-defense, you're wasting your time." Some of these things I've heard personally, and I will say this: I don't want to say my faith in it has wavered there. I have another perfect understanding. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm trying to. One of the things I do with martial arts, specifically with music, anything really. When I learn something, I try to, and that's why I have about 1,000 books about everything. I try to get as many different opinions as possible, as many different viewpoints and philosophies and ideologies to kind of establish and build my own, okay? And no, it doesn't mean I'm under peer pressure because, I have to pick one and that's the one I'm sticking with, even though I do have some particulars with some I do like. The overall idea is that I want to be creative and invent myself with my own theories about it. So that's where I'm saying is I take that, but I also, try to understand. Now, in the beginning, we we have I'm losing my track here. Sorry, I gotta. In the beginning, when I totally lost my train of thought. Look at that. I gotta stop multitasking when I'm doing stuff. So, hang on. Give me a second here. Where are we going with that? Blah, 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 blah. Developing my own. I think I was okay. So in the beginning, I'll swing it this way. I kind of forgot, but I kind of got myself back. I bought into and I had the the system that I bought into, believed in, and again, there's different ones out there, and there's a lot that I like. There's some that I'm a little skeptical about. There's some that I really don't give a lot of weight to. But the ideas that come there, and again, that's one thing about with again, we're talking Aikido specifically, but really any art. There's a lot of differing viewpoints and philosophies and ideologies and so forth, but at the same time, there's a little piece from each that is very similar. So when you boil it down to brass tacks and you come back to it, there's really not a whole lot of change. It's just really someone's interpretation of it, basically, is what it comes down to. So I had bought into that for a while, and I'm not saying it was wrong, I'm saying that, but as I grew, I kind of changed the mindset a little bit. I kind of developed, and now I'm sort of diving deeper because I really want to understand and get better at it, naturally. I also am a goal to preserve the art for Aikido and the sword and going forward and trying to keep it's a dying art, and it's not as popular with a lot of other martial arts that are out there, but it's still very important. I want to keep it going there. And the biggest thing I will share too, as far as belief in that, is my goal has always been I want to find ways, because let me back up just a bit here. There has been a lot of times where I've heard it taught to me or shared with me of certain things about it don't work. Some of these things are not practical. Some of these things should not be bothered with, etc. Now, after giving that a lot of thought, and that's kind of where my point was going when I lost myself back there, trying to keep an open mind about accepting different philosophies. There we go. I found it. There you go. It still ties in. See that? I'm just that good. I can't salvage it. In the beginning, what I was going to say was I wasn't as open-minded to different viewpoints or different ideals. Over time, as I just mentioned, as I studied it, I began to become a lot more of a student mindset of trying to understand even the systems of styles of this art that were taught differently that I didn't care for, trying to understand their perspective, where they're coming from. Now, again, just because I did that doesn't mean that I adopted it 100% and I believed it and I agree with it, but I at least knew that I was trying to at the very least become a little bit more open to understanding the ideal and understanding again, why was taught, what was taught, and all that sort of stuff. But at any rate, it's difficult when, especially in cases where you have been, if you're training for it for such a long time, which I had been, honestly, and when you still get fixated on a specific mindset for that one, it's really hard to adopt and accept anything else. To be honest and truthful about it. So that was where I think I struggled a lot, because I wanted to get better, and I realized quickly that if I don't adopt this mindset to try to be more open to it, I am going to be too single-minded, too narrow-minded, and not willing to grow, which I don't want that to happen. So I quickly had to learn to change that thought process. So that's a bit of advice giving you too. So if you are in a situation where you're learning, and it doesn't have to be martial arts per se, but just the idea, you're trying to get some ideas and goals for that, don't allow yourself to be so focus-minded and closed-minded on one area. Try to keep an open mind with that. Because if nothing else, it might help to prove your point. It also might help to reinforce what you believe in. And it's just going to give you a better overall experience and perspective on things. So, but anyway, with nothing being said, I've been rambling for that. That's just kind of where we went with that. So, and in doing that, I began to look at things, question things, and again, it actually forced me to listen to so many different podcasts, so many different Aikido teachers and books and materials, and really do my own research. Like, I delve deep to try to be like, I want to be the best I can at this. I want to understand the origins, where it comes from, and I want to develop my own, and I want to build on that. So that's what led to all of this. But I'm glad I did, because it opened up the doorway to much more growth and opportunities. But yeah, so there was that. Now, in discovering that, and another hurdle was I also had to get into the mindset that you can't be the student forever. You have to be the teacher. Okay. And when you do that, you want to you get complacent in a manner of speaking, where you are stuck in just, again, like we call it, I've heard it said, and I've used the term student mode, where you're kind of afraid to branch out, which you shouldn't be. In all honesty, you want to grow. That's the whole point of martial arts training and growing, is at some point, and it's just like the great teachers and people before us, someone has to take over, someone's got to move forward. So if you don't do that, you're not going to do any justice by preserving the art, by allowing it to fall away because you were too afraid to grow. So, part of that was, and the origin of that was understanding that. And there's a lot of information, again, we'll dive into that more further, but that was a lot of basis for how I got my foundation established. Which we'll expand upon. And I'll take a couple minutes here real quick, because I want to take a break and then come back, and then we'll get into the technique side and try to explain a little bit about some of the Aikido techniques and the philosophies and goals around that, and explaining some of the moves and so forth as we continue on here, because it might get about an hour, and maybe we'll see how far we go with this. But so the origin, really true story for me, and most people kind of ask me that, and it's a great question, and I've heard this a lot, and I've been asked this so many times, and I never get tired of sharing this. It's really, really great. It's important, because it was a pivotal moment in my life for me too. And it always has been, always will be, and I'm forever grateful for that. So how it came about was, I have a friend of mine who had trained in martial arts for many years, Shaolin Kung Fu to be more specific. And I remember this very, very vividly. This was several years ago. Gosh, this has to be like almost 15 years ago. That's about how long I've been studying the art now itself. He invited me to his house one weekend on a Sunday. We used to go to the same church, and so we hung out. And we were in the teen group, so there was activities in the evening. So it made sense for me, because I lived out of the state, but it wasn't far away. But I could get a ride to go there, and then my parents could come get me later. But anyway, that's a whole separate thing. One particular day was over, and we're kind of messing around. And he always just liked to show me stuff. He liked to beat me up, pretty much is what I tell people. So we were sparring, for lack of a better term for me, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And so I don't know how it really. I don't remember, honestly. I think we were just talking and getting invested. But he used to always nag me to death. He's like, you should take martial arts. You should take martial arts. You should really. You should think about it. You should take martial arts. I just don't know. I thought about taking karate when I was younger, maybe even taekwondo, and I knew some of the arts and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know. Well, then the one thing he said to me, which I'll never forget, and side note, I don't think he trains anymore. He hasn't trained for a long time. But this is the information he gave me, which was so important. He said, you need to find an art that really is built for you, or that fits your personality. That's the term. So I'm like, okay. And he's the one that actually said to me when he said that was, I think Aikido would be good for you. And my response was, Aikido, okay. Well, I've never heard that before. I'll have to look into it. Little did I know, and again, I was a big fan of Steven Seagal's films, but I didn't know that's what the art was called. So when I put two and two together, then I began to research, and then I decided to start looking for it. And I still have a couple copies of the very first Aikido book that I bought. It's an autobiography. It's a hardcover. It's called A Life in Aikido. I think it's A Life. I have to look it up. I think it's a life and it's been a long time since I was coming up with a name for the podcast, so I always confuse that. But it's basically a biography of the founder of O-Sensei, written by his son, who succeeded him to lead the Aikido world after O-Sensei had died. But it really opened the floodgates, and it helped me to really dive in. And then the thing that sealed it for me was I started watching demonstrations. The great master himself would be showing and doing a demonstration for folks that would see what he could do. And I remember thinking, I saw this little old Japanese man there, this small guy, throwing guys bigger than him doing this, and I was instantly mesmerized. And I'm like, I have to do this. I absolutely love it. I have to do it. Like exactly what I said. So my research that I found a school that was not too far away from me, but not super close, but it was doable for me to go out to, and I started training and fell in love and got involved ever since, and there I am. So, but it's those defining moments where I think, and I often think to myself, boy, what if I never came across that, or if I never had the opportunity to learn or come across it, I might have missed out on something really, really special. So I am really, really grateful and glad that, I got the exposure to that. I'm grateful to my friend who was able to point me in the right direction, which actually he's the one that came with me. We did, we took a class just as a visitor, just to see it. And then that's what led me to my old teacher that I was with and so forth. But yeah, so it was really great. So that's just, idea. And everybody's story is different, but it was really important, and it's still huge for my life and where I developed and where I got to. So, I credit that greatly. And so, I hope you guys find your own if you're interested in training. And that's just in training in martial arts, but anything. But it really means a lot, and it's important. So if you have that chance, definitely take it, because it's something really special. But yeah, it really meant a lot. It was great. But yeah, so there you go. Just a little more history about me, and I can always talk more about that later. But let's take a short break here. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday night. Hope this will suffice for you guys for entertainment there. Again, it's an interesting week because we're kind of shortened on that, but we're going to make up for it. And again, Saturday night's going to be fun, and we're going to probably go a little bit longer than normal too. So we'll definitely make up for being off tomorrow night as well. But hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and we'll be back for more, of course. We're trying, as you see, we're getting more content out. We're trying to be proactive with that. Thank you for the support. You guys the numbers have been steadily growing. It's been great. We love you guys for it. Appreciate that. It means the world to us. So we hope you find this informative, entertaining, fun, educational, whatever. Even if it just takes your mind off of the day once in a while. Whatever we can do, the little bit we can to help you guys, that's what we try to strive for. So we're glad you love it, and we love all of you for being here, and we can't wait for more journeys down the road. So when we come back, we will talk more about the applications, the techniques, some, again, more theories of training. Technically, I'll try to kind of go over that in the mindset a little bit, give some of the ins and outs there, give you some of my thoughts on that too, and then we'll see where we're at. We might wrap up for the evening. Maybe we'll go a little bit longer. I guess we'll kind of see and feel it out. But perfect time, though, if you're listening live, though. Take a quick break. We're going to play a couple of commercials and some songs to break it up. Grab yourself a snack if you want. Get yourself a notebook. Take some notes if you're interested. I'll do some research, look up those books too, because I'll give you some pointers for some great ones to start out with, especially if you're just looking into it. Again, for Aikido, but even other arts too. There's some we can do that too, but we can share some of that towards the end of the evening as well. But stick around, stay tuned. We're not done yet. We'll come back for more right after this. Do not go away. You don't want to miss what's coming up next.
Do it. Do what you want, do it. do it. Do what you want, do what you want, do it.
Hey audio fans, are you looking for fun and excitement? Have you been searching for that special show? You know, the one complete package you want in a podcast? Then check out the What's Up Bro podcast show and experience what true entertainment is all about. Stay tuned and don't miss the action. Available on your favorite streaming services, including YouTube. Thank you for all your support. And as always, we'll see you at the show.
We'll be right back to the show with more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back to the show with more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back to the show with more in just a moment. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back to the show with more in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
Hey there, do you love podcasts? Are you having difficulty finding the right ones to listen to? Is it frustrating when you're trying to pick that show? You know, the one where everyone must collectively agree on? Like finding a good movie or TV show to watch, do you look for the most jam-packed entertainment that's possible to find in a single episode every week? Then search no more, and welcome to J&J Production Studios. It's our business to provide the best entertainment and information available for you. Whether you're sitting in that comfy chair with your favorite snack and beverage listening live each week, or downloading your favorite show episodes to take with you on the go while you're at work, exercising, or even just to play at night for you to fall asleep to. There's something for everyone, no matter what size, shape, or age you are. Visit www.linktree.com/J_J Production Studios to find all the streaming services where our podcast shows can be found. You can also connect with us on your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook and Twitter. You can join our public Discord server and chat directly with us. But wait, there's more. You can subscribe to our official YouTube channel and be notified every time a new show is broadcast. Wish you could have some studio souvenirs or collectibles? Guess what? You can. Visit the official store where you can purchase items featuring your favorite podcast and show hosts. Would you like to help support us? You can do that by getting your very own exclusive membership on our Patreon account. All proceeds go to help us upgrade our shows, which will only enhance the entertainment provided to you. Thank you so much. We're excited to have you as an audience. Your love and support are always appreciated. We'll see you soon.
Break time is over. We're so glad you stayed tuned. Now back to the action as the show is set to resume.
All right, welcome back, you guys. I almost lost it there. There we go. I got to be more quicker on the draw there. If you're just tuning in, welcome. This is a brand new episode of our newest podcast show, Aikido and Life in the Martial Arts. I'm Sam Crow, of course, as always, and I appreciate you guys being here. And again, really excited to have this podcast available now. And again, I shared this earlier, just quickly, briefly to say it again. This is a new show, but it's not a new concept. This was something that was thought about, talked about, possibly considered doing in the future, or in the beginning. And it didn't come to fruition right away, but here it is now more than ever. We're so grateful for that, appreciate that, and appreciate all your support. So thank you for that. Excited to see where this goes. I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great outlook. Obviously, we can dedicate this now to having Ramsey here with Impulse Martial Arts. We can talk into the martial arts world here. So it's got its own thing. It's time has finally come. The day the dues are paid is here. Whatever other analogies I guess you want to use, you can use, etc., so on and so forth. But anyway, so appreciate that. Appreciate you guys being here and supporting this as well, and all of you. Thank you. So let us move on here, and probably what will be the last portion of the evening, because it is getting later here, but I want to cover this for just a little bit. So talked a bit about the origin of Aikido, understanding where it's coming from, and again, we are going to dive deeper into that later on. For now, I want to talk about the uniqueness of Aikido and looking at the techniques, the fundamentals, the movements, the things that make Aikido unique. Like all arts have techniques, systems, things they want to do. One of the first things I want to point out, and this is something that gets shared a lot, and I want to share this myself, because I think it's important too. It's difficult, but I like it. Aikido is one of the few, if probably one of the only arts known that actually practices highly in what's known as the version of Randori. Randori is free practice, also features practicing against multiple attackers. In doing Randori, usually in the most standard Aikido schools specifically, it can be changed, obviously, per the curriculum, per whoever the instructor, school, what they decide to do. But most commonly, it's usually where one student has the ability to defend themselves against 3 other opponents. I know, right? And this is where I saw this demonstrated and done, where I couldn't believe it, and I'm like, you know what? It's unbelievable how that could actually happen. But it does. So it's vital, it's important, and, all these type of things. So that's one unique aspect of it. Aikido actually features, and I enjoy that. I also enjoy this part too. Aikido features a lot of weapons techniques there, practicing against empty hand versus weapon, weapon versus weapon, like the Jo, or the 4-foot wooden staff. It's like a bow staff, but it's a little shorter. The Bokken, which is a wooden version of the katana or the samurai sword. Also the tanto, or the knife, and as well as others, the hanbo, which is sort of like a shorter stick version of that, and the like, and so forth. So a lot of unique things there, and there's a lot of different techniques which we're going to break down, but I want to go over some of the core elemental techniques. It's going to be kind of hard. I know we're going to have to break this down, and maybe we'll include some visuals at some point. Actually get some photo ops for that, or artwork for that too, but actually, let's do this too. Maybe we'll start this way, just because I can break it down easier. And I'm also I'm going to give you guys some recommendations for some books to consider looking into, reading, and getting, etc. So, Aikido, again, stems from Jiu-Jitsu. That's pretty much the origin, birth, where it's from there. And the core concept of it is a lot of joint locks and joint manipulations and so forth. So the most of the techniques are fundamentally favored in the idea of joint locks and joint manipulation and controlling an opponent that way. Now, one of the key elements too for Aikido, which we didn't talk about a lot yet, is Aikido's core philosophy and group is it's using your energy to contain your opponent or your attacker there. So instead of using complete physical strength or brute strength or complete control, etc., etc., the idea is you blend with your opponent, you use their energy against them, and you are able to maneuver and utilize your opportunities to blend with them, become basically almost non-existent, to where you have the upper advantage because you are not using strength to defeat your opponent. Your opponent essentially defeats himself. And again, it gets really confusing. And again, we'll break this down a little bit further. But that's kind of the core principle concept of it. But it helps to have an understanding of that. And it helps to give you some perspective there. Obviously, that's kind of the point being there. And hopefully lay some groundwork. And again, I don't expect everybody to understand this. I don't expect everybody to grasp it right away. I don't expect anybody to be an expert on this, which again is not the overall principal fact of that. It's just the notions and knowing that you get a better understanding and appreciation for it. That's really what it comes down to. Now, if you want to explore on your own and get further invested, that's great. I hope I can inspire you that direction. The other thing that's important to note too, and this is one of the things that I feel like it's not often talked about a lot, but the core concept, the core techniques for Aikido, I mentioned this, the Aikido, and some schools really don't feature this, some schools do. Aikido is tied to, this is one of the arts that O-sensei did too, is old school Japanese days of the samurai, Iaido, Iaijitsu, and Kenjutsu, which is samurai sword training, the katana. The idea for Aikido techniques are the fundamental foundation for primarily the majority of them that I've seen too. They are spherical in nature, and that's actually the title of one of the books we're going to talk about at the end. I'm going to give you guys some core books that I like to utilize, that I think are really good. Now, again, you might find others. There's plenty out there. These are just my favorites, and these will be based off of recommendations that I saw elsewhere. But anyway, there's circular in notion, and why they are is the idea Aikido initially pre-World War II, which means this is old school. Now, Aikido has developed change, obviously, since post-World War II, but the core concept was the round techniques were helped to avoid being cut with the sword, because the sword has such a long reach, and you could be cut with it. It was the safest way to engage and approach, and be able to deal with an opponent that had the sword if you were empty-handed. A lot of the techniques, which are some techniques that have it in the title for that, there's a lot of techniques which makes Aikido scary. I've always said this, especially for newer students and those that haven't done it before. What's going to be difficult is most other arts typically employ blocking, and really Aikido's core fundamental philosophy on that is you don't block, really. Does it happen in a lot of instances? Yes. And it might be a hand-eye coordination thing. It might just be reflective and reflexes too. But ideally, you don't block an Aikido for that, which makes things all the more scary. So, which leads to the second part. What I was getting to was, it leads you to the point where you're forced to enter in or get close. You don't block the attack. You don't back away from it. You get close. You close the distance. Your ma'ai, which is a Japanese word meaning distance. Instead of farther away, you close that gap and you get closer, which involves timing, involves movement, depending on what the technique is, what the situation is. There's all sorts of variables that go into play there. But that's sort of the ideal goal there. Now, there's also times, of course, and it's like any other training for that one too. There's times to retreat, there's times to move on, there's times to not engage at all if you can help it. But that's the basic fundamental core for that one there, as well as the joint locks. There are the pillars of Aikido, which are the core fundamental techniques there, which I'll give you the basics for that there, but we'll talk more in depth about later. Actually, you know what? No, we'll save that because I feel like that could be really broken down into segments too. So we'll just give you the highlight for that. That's the core techniques we'll talk about. There's a lot of basic techniques. There's a lot more. I'm trying to think what's the good word. Not I guess advanced, but there's a lot more applicable techniques that require more do that. So, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But anyway, so we can take these, and again, there's different schools of thought. There's so many different ways. The core techniques and values are basically the same across the board, as I mentioned earlier, but there is different interpretations to it. And again, I've looked at many different ways. I encourage you to do the same. If you're considering training in this art specifically, it would be really beneficial for you to allow yourself opportunity to try to understand it better. And again, I don't want to get too technical right off the cuff because it can be confusing, can get frustrating, and I don't want to close this down before we really get started with it. So, but that's sort of the core belief behind that with Aikido for that too. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's imperative to mention for that one there. And again, I find it most difficult, and I want to explain this to you guys. This is kind of a challenge for me too, having this podcast, doing this, because I try very hard to get myself in the teaching mindset, because I've spent so much time studying it as a student that I never really think much about it. But now I have to interpret and break it down for you, let's say, for example, you guys listening, to help you understand. And so that becomes challenging. So this is kind of a practice goal for me too. But, there's a lot of things we're going to digest, a lot of things we're going to break down. And you'll see too as we go through this more in depth. And we're going to take topics, I'm going to break this all apart to really kind of strip the nuts and bolts to help you guys really get a good idea of what this art is about. And we're going to do that with others as well. Again, this is a whole thing dedicated to the martial arts really in general. But just in this case, we're talking about Aikido as a forefront for that. That's what we want to do. But, yeah, so what else can we say? I'm trying to think of any of the bullet points. I want to cover that. There's different goals for training in the art. Aikido is more of a spiritual art. The founder was more of the Shinto type religion of the Eastern philosophical viewpoint. So a lot of people do train for spiritual enlightenment. I am not one of those. I do it for a lot of stress release and relief. That helps me. It is very calming in that regard. Again, everybody's different though. But there's different motivations. So clearly the first big question too is understanding what your goal is for training, and in those videos, in that video, sorry, I'm doing a couple things here. Watch some videos actually about training. Get a goal idea of what you are wanting to do, what are your accomplishments. So, all that sort of thing there. But, just set small goals too. We talk about that all the time. Set small goals. Take a class, and again, if it's not Aikido, any martial art, don't write it off. And everything else is gonna look scary in the beginning. I will tell you that. I remember my early days training. It looks scary in the beginning, but trust me, take your time with it. Excuse me, and if it's not for you, it's not going to be for you. But don't let it scare you off right away. Try to at least embrace it by giving it the fair shake of seeing if you can make it work, and then you'll know for sure. But yeah, do that, and you do some research there. Again, a lot of this is self-independent. You guys can figure this out on your own too. We're going to help too. Like I said, that's what we do with all the shows here. But you can really get a good grasp of things if you start diving deep. Now, in just a minute, we're going to get ready to close up here, so I want to give you some good literature, some good reading, and some resources to look at that can help you. And again, you can, there's a lot of free, there's some you can buy, it's up to you, however you want to invest in that, you figure that out. But just to give you some ideas and at least a direction for that. But yeah, I want to say, though, it's been very rewarding for me. It's been a huge part of it. It's part of my makeup, who I am. It's part of my life. And I'm very thankful for it. And maybe some of you will find that same thing, too. If you don't, that's okay. Again, not all of us are meant to do it. We don't all do the same thing. But I would hope this will at least inspire you for that. And again, as we dive deeper, and again, we're going to get more. I wanted to share a little bit about techniques, but the more I'm thinking about it too, it's hard to really break it down, and we need to focus on. And actually, I kind of got this idea as we were doing this. I will probably take a certain section of breakdown of techniques, and we'll walk it through that way, just so that we're not all over the place, because there's thousands, literally, of techniques that we could go over, which we can. And again, we'll do that as time goes on. But we don't have to do it all in one night, but just to give you some oversights about it. It really is unique art. It's interesting, and I believe, again, it can be effective if it's done properly. Like anything else, if it's taught the right way, executed the right way, it's kind of the old, I like to use the Karate Kid version of that one, but like Mr. Miyagi would say, there's no such thing as bad students, only bad teacher. There's all these little tidbits. Making movie watching makes sense, right? No, I think it's really great. It's got a lot of benefits to it. Again, it's just motivation of what is it you're looking for. And that's really the first question a lot of people don't ask. So take some time, do your research on it, check out some other arts too. Think about what you want, what you're looking for, what you want to get out of it. And then as you check the boxes off for those criteria for what you want, see if that's going to blend well and fit for you guys. That's my biggest piece of advice that I can't stress enough. I think that's very important. So, and I wish you well for that. And again, reach out to us here. We can help you do that as well. But, until you do that, figure it out and find what works best for you guys. So let me give you guys some great materials here. I just actually got a couple copies here recently. There's a lot of great books out there you can research to. Look at some reviews for that as well, but I know I have a couple of my favorites here. A Life in Aikido is the title of that book. That's the biography about Morihei Ueshiba. It's I think it's only in hardcover, so you can get that. It's kind of a harder print to find, so if you can find it, I recommend it. It's really a great book. It's very inspirational there. Do that. That's wonderful. One of the books I discovered not too long ago is called The Language of Aikido. It's sort of so I'll read you just the byline of this so you can kind of get the idea of it. A Practitioner's Guide, The Language of Aikido, Practitioner's Guide to Japanese Characters and Terminology. This is a wonderful breakdown of, etiquette in the dojo, the training hall where you train, uniformity, all these sort of things. So if you really want a glossary of that, highly recommend that book. Complete Aikido, The Definitive Guide to the Way of Harmony by Roy Sanaka Sensei there. A great book. It's more of a biography too, but I have a few copies of that. I've read it. It's great. Highly recommend that. There's others that I will share later on too. I'm just going to give you some of the key points I have here recently just to get you started. One of the crucial books that I really like too, because it has a lot of diagrams written and drawn in it, is a book called Aikido and the Dynamic Sphere. That's where I mentioned earlier, the circular comes into play. Definitely a great book, especially if you want to get a look at the drawings of how techniques are applied, how they're done. Again, it's not the same as watching videos and stuff, which you can do, and pretty much go on YouTube or anywhere you can search videos, you can find it. But great technical diagram book showing techniques there, drawn by hand. Obviously not there, but reprinted. But it'll give you some great insights as to what it looks like. Again, research there. One of the great Aikido organizations, I'm a part of that, and I share that. And there's a lot of free materials, but you can also sign up for and, purchase items and different things. Aikido Journal. You can Google that. Check it out. Wonderful site there. You can get all kinds of resources there. It's fantastic. I super advise check it out. If you join up in the training, it's kind of like the, what do you call it? You can purchase products. If you sign up for an Aikido Journal, the Academy, you sign up there as a student there. You can purchase courses there. A lot of great visuals you can watch. Check that out. Highly advise you do that. It's fantastic. You can, again, at your own discretion there, you can find a whole great ideal of resources there that are super special, super important, and really insightful. That's the word I was looking for. There's video courses, there's some books, there's some PDFs you can download, there's all kinds of wonderful things. Most of these are digital format, but you can check it out. These are wonderful things that, whether you're a beginner, whether you're intermediate, expert, whatever, these are chock full of knowledge. These are such great resources there. Check that out too. AikidoJournal.com. You can find more information there as well. We can always share that if you wish. I'm trying to think if there's any others that I wanted to share right off the bat that's helpful. I think it's a good starting point. And again, look for anything a beginner's guide to. You can even look at, I think there might be for dummies and maybe an idiot's guide to. I'm not sure. There's just about a book written for that for everything nowadays. But check that out. You might be able to find some important books there as well, information. But do your research. And again, we're going to break this all down. We're going to get highly invested, involved, and thorough with this. I'm going to pull out some notes and pull out some books that I have too. I just kind of want to sort of get a little bit more into the historical side of things. We're going to get more in depth with that later, and more about techniques and things like that. Maybe at some point in the future, if we incorporate video, which we're hoping to do maybe down the road, we will maybe do some actual training live, or some visual training. We could do that. We'll see. Not sure. Again, a lot of pieces there, but it's a goal. It's a dream. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. We'll see. But hopefully this helps you guys out a lot. I hope you're enjoying this. This is going to be great. We're going to continue on for this. We're going to add other arts too. We're going to talk about so much stuff. Really excited for this podcast show to grow. We've got so many great opportunities where it's really just, it's superb. It's wonderful. It's great, and we hope you guys are going to enjoy this. And tell your friends, spread the word, share the love there. Again, it doesn't mean I'm trying to sell you on something where you have to do it, should do it, etc. But we're hoping that you will gain a perspective there and find something you love. If nothing else, show some appreciation for that too. That's all we're looking for too. That's my hope anyway. That's what I'm so passionate about the arts and stuff too. But I hope you guys really enjoy that. This is something special. Again, taking a chance for that, but I think it's going to be great. We're going to enjoy it, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So looking forward to that and more. I apologize for rambling too. I got so much stuff going on, so many things happening. I'm trying to keep it all together, but you guys know how life is. It just happens. But so grateful, you guys. If you spent time with us live tonight, thank you for being here. Enjoy this episode if you're listening to it later on. That's great. We love you guys. Love the support there. And remember, too, tune in. Saturday night is going to be the only show this weekend for us. It's going to be a longer special. We have a special guest, new band coming in, the Cellar Dwellers. They will be live joining us. We're going to talk about them, their origin, a little bit about the band members that are going to appear on the show, music, and so forth. Hope you guys will tune in for that. Stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. Going to be amazing. Can't wait to have you guys there as well. So with that, we're going to wrap things up here. Hope you guys, again, have a great week. Looking forward to the weekend. I know Labor Day is over. It was a short week for some, but don't worry. We'll have plenty more to come, plenty of things to do as time goes on. It's just the perks of getting older, right? But thank you guys for being here to support. Oh, and remember, too, if you want to support us, just like anything else, you can go and you can join the Supporters Club. This will give you a chance to pay a subscription that can help enhance these shows. Again, we don't take any proceeds from that. We put it right back into creating more great content and all that those sort of things. So if you want to support us, we'd love that. Thank you so much. We'd appreciate that very, very much. But again, we're going to bring great content nevertheless, because that's what we're here for. We are here for you guys, and we enjoy it just as much, hopefully, if not more so, than you do. So, but we appreciate that. So thank you very much. See you guys at the What's Up Bro Show this Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Do not miss it. You are going to want to hear it. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. And more great things to come. Hopefully more special guests lined up. We are diligently working on that, so we will definitely keep you guys in the loop. But we appreciate the love and support there. Thank you, and good night, and goodbye for now. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you. Until next time, when we see you all at the show. Good night, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. Be sure to check J&J Production Studios on Linktree for all the streaming services and social media accounts where our shows are featured. We love and appreciate all your support. And as always, until next time, we'll see you at the show.